Hi, this is Ronald Johnson, your life coach, mentor coach, and what I do is I help people that are tired of who they are and where they are in life.
And this is Gloria, your life coach. I help those who are feeling stuck, struggling with difficulties such as self doubt, inner judgment, lack of confidence, life transitions, and taking steps forward.
And welcome to Life's a Shuffle podcast. Now, you may wonder why it's called Life's a Shuffle, and the reason why we came up with this title is that life is really shuffling. It doesn't matter where you come from, your background, what age you are, you're shuffling multiple things in life. And the best thing to know in life is everybody faces your struggles and everybody faces what you're going through. But there's hope in learning something about that. So when our guests share their journey, the hope is you learn something in that journey so yourself can navigate the struggles you face, the low self-esteem, the self-confidence, and that's why we call podcast Life's a Shuffle.
And throughout this podcast, we share our personal overcoming stories, as well as our guests who shares their personal journey in overcoming their personal struggles. Life's a Shuffle podcast is here to connect like-minded individuals.
And thank you for listening to Life's a Shuffle podcast.
Hi, this is Gloria, your life coach. Welcome to another episode of Life's a Shuffle.
Hi, this is Ronald Johnson, your mindfulness coach. Welcome to another episode of Life's a Shuffle. And today it is a great day. We have a special guest from a totally different country. I've never been there. It's on my bucket list. She's an amazing, you heard that laugh? She's an amazing person. We spend the first 10 to 15 minutes get to know her. It's a beautiful thing about internet. People can be international. You can have a conversation. So welcome to a Life's a Shuffle episode, Nia O Connor. Kind of tell our guests a brief description about yourself and where you're from.
So, hello everyone. My name is Nia O Connor, and if you can't tell by the accent, I'm from Kingston, Jamaica. I'm an international student here currently at a university in Miami. I'm studying marketing, and I love it here so far. I recently started a motivational series called Elevate with Nia. And a part of that is just my passion for personal development. And I love helping young people. From I was in high school, I was a student counselor and all those things. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Well, Nia, I love the accent, first of all. and and what Ron was saying, Jamaica is one of the countries that's in my bucket list. And I think we had this conversation that it could be, if possible, if things goes well, next year is my plan. So hopefully you can give me some tips and places to check out in the country. I would love to.
Of course, whenever you're planning on going, just reach out to me. But you see, the thing is, Corona.
I know.
So, a lot of people are visiting, this year and they have visited last year since Corona. But I think that the experience, Jamaica is such a fun and an open place. But, with Corona, there's so many restrictions that the experience is just not the same.
Interesting.
So I would always suggest to wait a little when things calm down, and then you can go. And it's so fun. If you've never been to Jamaica, I encourage you to go take a trip, go on different scenes, and you don't have to do the hotel route. You can always do the villa. You can book a villa via Airbnb, or however you want to truly experience the country.
Oh yeah, I can't
Beautiful.
wait. Yeah, it was this movie. I don't know if you've heard of this movie called How Stella Got Her Groove Back. So after that movie, I said, I'm going there.
Was it shot in Jamaica?
I believe it was, yes. And that's why I said I'm going to be going there. That's where it's, I want to have fun. But yeah, we'll see. And I have a question for you. How long ago, or when did you move here, or when did you come here to America?
Okay, so I'll give you the backstory
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I was waiting
to
for, the
that.
meat.
Yes, I'll give you the backstory. All right. So growing up, I was never the brightest student. I was, I made my laziness get the best of me, and I never always had a lot of confidence, which was a problem for me, and so it affected my schoolwork. Um, and I had to do multiple different extra lessons and um, just trying to catch up. But fast forwarding to college years, my mother is actually one of the reasons why I decided to study abroad. I was in Jamaica. You do these Caribbean exams in 11th grade, where we call it grade 11. We do something called CXC, and then in we have grade 12 and 13, which is it's not compulsory, so you can choose whether or not you want to do it. So I chose to do grade 12, and I know they have 12th grade here in the US, but we have an extra year called grade 13. And so you do advanced level Caribbean exams, and they call them, it's called CAPE. So in grade 12, I had my mind set on just going to the university in Jamaica. It's called the University of the West Indies, the Mona campus. It's one of the biggest universities in the Caribbean. So I just wanted to go there, do marketing, and be merry. My mother, she was like, Nia, you're really limiting yourself. And I think in sixth form, that's what we call it. So in lower six, which is grade 12, I started to, find myself and want to enjoy and become more involved. And I could tell that my mother was very proud of me at this stage in my life. And she said, Nia, expand your horizon. Um, go on, do something different. And I said, all right, I'm gonna expand my options. And so I decided to go to SAT, not go to SAT, I'm sorry. I decided to go to SAT classes. Um, every day I went to SAT classes, I was so upset because it's like, I don't want to be here. These classes are very hard. Um, the math was very hard because it was things that we don't learn um, in class in our regular curriculum in high school every day. Remember that this is not a American written syllabus, and so the math for the SAT is that, yeah, I think that's what it was. It's like high level algebra and all those things where in Jamaica we call those there's a class where they say you should do add math, which is additional math. It's higher level mathematics, and a lot of that is reflected on the SAT math exam. I'm already bad at regular math. And so I used to just be so miserable going to that class. And I was like, man, why am my mother making me do this? But I did it. I love the English. I've always been good at English, and I just toughed it out. I ended up doing okay, and then I was unlike my other peers who was like, "Oh, I want to go to this school. I want to go to that school, and I have to go here. Have to go there." No, I signed up with a college consultancy firm, and we worked together, chose some schools. I was not picky. And then, I got into a couple of schools. I did a couple school tours during the Christmas because I would have applied during November. I think that was the early application deadline was, I think, November the 1st, if I'm not mistaken. And then I fell when I toured Barry. Barry was one of the last schools I toured, and I just fell in love with the campus. It felt like home. They answered some of my questions so perfect, and I was like, this is where I want to be. And so I would just say me being here was a risk that I took. It was definitely out of my comfort zone. And I believe this all happened in, I think, 2018. I think it's 2018, right? Because I'm in my third year now. And so the journey has just been amazing. I've been so involved on campus. I'm a orientation leader. I was a peer mentor where I had to partake in a leadership certification program here on campus called Emerging Leaders Program. And then from that, the next year I was able to be a peer mentor. And so I was assigned 4 mentees. Um, and we'd meet once weekly and converse. And then, that led me next to being a resident assistant, which is a big job on campus because it's very competitive. And so I'm really in my element here on campus. And when I look back, I don't regret being here at all. And I thank my mother again for pushing me in this direction.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful. Uh, are you the only child?
Not anymore.
Okay.
I have a brother and he's 10 years old.
Mm. So you're the oldest then?
Yes, I'm the oldest.
Okay. So when I hear you telling your story, it's really beautiful. And what I heard, and I just hear your voice vibration goes up and go down. What I mean by that is that one minute I hear you say, I face a lot of difficulties, my confidence, my self esteem is low.
Hmm.
But once you put, let's say, your mind to accomplishing something, or your mom pushing you something, your elevation of your voice went up. So it's like, no, monotone. Then when happy, it's like, okay, phew, I think I can do this, but now I can. So, with that being said, how's your confidence now and self esteem, knowing that you accomplished a lot of different things?
That's an interesting question because um, I'll take you back again
Okay,
to the
Back to the
story.
Future. I love that.
Yeah, so I'll take you back to another story. So before I even, so I remember I explained that in the Caribbean we do these exams in 11th grade, aka grade 11, called CXC. Um, and I mentioned that I was never great at math. So in grade 10, which is what we call fourth form, um, many students have the option of doing, a couple of the exams early because you have to sit at, the average students will sit between 6 to 8 exams in fifth form, grade 11. And so, you kind of want to take the load off, off your plate. But my mother again, in fourth form, she said, do math and English early. And I'm like, what? Like I'm already not good at math. I'm good with English, but still, like, why do I have to do this early? Like, I think I need more time, fun. And a funny story: my mother was abroad. Her sister was having a baby, and I was in Jamaica. And she called me and said, "Mia, look, the deadline is coming up. If you're gonna do this exam, you need to maybe pay for the exam because you have to pay to sit the exam. Um, and the deadline is coming up. Are you gonna take this exam?" And I said, "Mommy, no, I'm not because I'm not good and I don't want you wasting money." Man, did I get a proper cussing. I got a proper cussing about how lazy I was and how I don't want to do anything. And she's like, "You know what? I'm paying for the exam and you're gonna sit it." So again, I thank my mom because um I went to the extra lessons. I had to go to external extra lessons now to prepare for these exams early. And the one of the ladies that own the actual company, she's a I think she's a psychologist, if I'm not mistaken. And she said to my mother, because I would have conversations with her like, I'm not really sure if I'm ready, and she said to my mother that she assessed me through conversations and that she can see that I have confidence issues.
Mm.
And she wasn't lying because it's not a thing where I couldn't do it, but I kind of told myself that I can.
Mhm.
And sometimes, now that I look back, I recognize that sometimes we limit ourselves, and it's not that we can't do something, but it's that we tell ourselves that we can't and we won't, and so we block out any opportunity. We block out working on ourselves to achieve these goals. And she had, thankfully, the extra lessons was able to get different people to tutor us, and she pulled me out and carried me into like one-on-one classes with different students. And then when the exam time came, I got top marks. So, they grade them like one, we call them grades 1, 2, and 3. So one is like an A. And I got A in both English and math. And I was like, what, me? And I cried. I cried when I got my results. To some people, it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I got my one in English and math. But to me, it meant everything. And my mother said, I told you, you can do it.
Mhm.
I remember, yeah, when I got those results, man, I was crying, crying. My grandpa looked at me and said, did somebody die? I was like, no, grandpa, I got my results. It was lots of excitement in the house. But Ron, I know you asked me, am I confident now? And that's the funny part is that a lot of times throughout my life, different events I've wowed myself, but I don't think I give myself enough credit. And sometimes I feel like, I'm still struggling with confidence, even though I'm accomplishing so many things. Sometimes I feel like I could do better,
Mm-hmm.
even when I'm doing my best. And I'm my biggest critic. I constantly criticize the things I do, the things I say. But but I'm in the process of becoming way more confident, and I just say it's a work in progress. I'm not at where I want to be with my confidence level, but it's definitely a work in progress.
And Nia, you're way ahead of a lot of people at your age right now. You
You're way
really,
ahead of me at your age. Trust me.
yeah, you really are. And, and this is why, I'm so glad to have been connected with you because you're an inspiring to so many people, like a lot of people your age and a lot of the younger crowd right now, because at this age, it's normal not to have that kind of, not to be confident in themselves. And we are the
Right.
biggest critics on ourselves too. I mean, at our age, my age, I still lack confidence and it comes up all the time. But, and so, and that's normal, but you're able to change that and you're able to shift that. And, look at all these things that you've accomplished. Because a lot of the times we do limit ourselves and we do doubt ourselves and we question ourselves if we can do it or not. And again, that's normal. So one of the things is that you wouldn't know unless you actually try it and you did
Yeah.
it, right? And your mom's right. So you got to listen to your mama.
Mhm.
Mama knows best.
Mhm.
That's what she said.
When I hear your story, I can't help but hear my story.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm 37 and you're 20, so you're a 17-year difference. It took me up until the age of between 34 to 35 when I had a psychological, emotional breakdown. I forget the physical. All right, physical is always my crutch as far as I competed a lot in competition. So my idea was at the time, if I get my body stronger, my mind becomes stronger.
Right.
Is actually the opposite. I was nothing but an egg. So outside I'm hard, but inside I'm very soft. So I could just crack the outside and boom, all the liquids come out. The ironic thing when I'm hearing your story, I see my story, but more importantly, one question, if you ever have the time, I would ask your mom is your mom saw something you did not see. So I would love to ask her. So, what did you see in Nia that Nia did not see in herself? Would be the question if you ever ask your mom that.
Hmm.
The thing to realize is that we're not taught confidence, right? We're taught the exterior idea of confidence. Let's say, okay, let's take social media for example. You see a lot of pages out there, let's say with people with the fancy cars, they got the Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, they got, the money, right? They got the power, they have a million or 10 million followers. So the idea is, oh, well, that person's prestigious because they have exactly the things that people appreciate. But when we talk to those people, they're just a minion because they themselves don't have the confidence. They're just doing things because that has given them success, which is right. But the success comes from within. So the other question I want to ask you now, this is for you, is how does Nia view herself, and how does Nia want to view herself? So one is present and one is in the future.
Okay, so
Did I get you?
so from okay, I would say I started to discover my strength um after 11th grade. Um Once I started conquering things that I didn't deem possible. For example, I take it back again. Spanish. Yeah, at my high school, you had to do a language, and it was either Spanish or French. And I've been doing Spanish all my life from kindergarten all the way up. But I've never loved Spanish, and I've never been able to truly learn and understand Spanish. But the exams were coming up, and for the Caribbean Spanish exam, you have to write an essay in Spanish. You have to do a listening comprehension part. You have to do a reading comprehension part, and all of that. So I needed to know Spanish. At this point, the exams are coming up in about 5 months, and I only know hola, ¿cómo estás? Right?
B&E too, right?
Yes,
Hmm.
but my mother again. Oh, not even my mother really, but you know, in the educational system, it's so good when you have teachers that believe in you. My Spanish teacher, I'll never forget Miss Clark. She said to me, she can see the potential, but I have to see it too, and that don't give up on myself. Don't give up on this exam and go and get extra classes because she said all you need is some extra classes. So of course I said no, and like it's whatever, just this lackadaisical attitude. And then I came home that day, and my mother was on the stairs, and I was talking. She was sitting on the stairs at home, and I was talking to her, and she was like, "Mia, you're really going to fail this exam?" I was like, mommy, what am I gonna do? And so we decided to sign up for extra class. I took Miss Clark's advice. And at first, the first tutor I went to was so expensive. Honestly, it was really expensive, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to continue that class. And sorry, and then um, in that same office or rather I should say that same school, because it was called a language learning school. There was a tutor there that had a marathon, and I went to the marathon, and she said, "Why don't you come to my extra class? You know, I'm cheaper." And then it turned out she was not just cheaper; she lived right next to me. She was from Cuba, and she I would say I went to Spanish boot camp,
Oh.
and what I didn't learn in all my years, I learned it in 3 months. And to this day, that's just doing that, going through all of that, those 3 months, and learn. When I say I love Spanish now, I mean I love Spanish. I know Spanish, not fluent, because with Spanish you have to practice to keep on remembering. But when I tell you at the time, my brother knew more Spanish than me, and he was probably six. And I moved to a place where I'm just speaking pure Spanish in the house. It was 3 months. Rigorous
Wow.
training of Spanish. Look, that lady really helped me, and it just showed me that it's not that I couldn't do it, but it's just that sometimes you need help. Sometimes there are just things that you can't do on your own, and just sitting down, saying, "Oh, I can't do it," or "I don't know how," it doesn't help. You have to take action. You have to, if you want to change, you have to get up and do something different. And that really helped me. And that was just a part of showing me where my true potential lies. I am capable of doing anything, but I know people are tired of hearing this, but it really does start with the mindset. It really does. It really does start with you saying, "I can and I will." And so to answer your question, Ron, from from just those days, from fifth form, grade 11, I started to call myself a lion. I started to say
That helps.
that I started to say that I am strong, I am bold, and just by those little things, saying I'm a lion.
hear me roar.
Yes, to hear me roar. And I've just been roaring ever since, And my
Wow.
future self, I just want to see myself, I see myself being more confident and I see myself conquering so much more. The sky's the limit. And even with my motivational series Elevate with Nia, I am achieving things that I never thought I would have been able to do. As I explained earlier in our early conversation before we started, you know, yesterday I had to interview someone. I've never interviewed anyone ever. Do I know exactly what I'm doing? Am I an expert? Have I done this before? No. But am I doing it anyway? Yes. So
Mhm.
I would say that's a lion in me. I'm a lion at this point.
How does all that feel, Nia? Like just what you're saying right now and the the way you're talking about it, I just feel so much passion in you.
Right. I I'm feeling great. I'm feeling somewhat accomplished. I'm feeling like I'm getting somewhere. I'm taking it step by step, day by day. It isn't easy. Again, if for any international student who's listening, you know, the international student struggle is real. It's not necessarily easy, but you have to take it day by day. You have to, you know, set goals for yourself and try to achieve them, one at a time.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, for others also listening here, like Nia, moving from a different country to here, and it's a totally different culture from where you came from, and you
Mhm.
have to adjust to that. And that alone is a struggle.
Yes.
Um, Tell us what that was like.
So, well, luckily for me, I was always traveling. I've traveled for many years from I was a little girl, from as one. So America, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, it wasn't a brand new place for me. And so I kind of knew what the culture was like here, and you watch TV, you watch different shows,
Hmm.
but to visit here is so much different than to actually reside here and go to school here and not hop on a plane, 1 month later or 2 weeks later. The food was different. The people were different. The things that you can say, the slangs. At first, when I came up here, um, getting used to the accents, I hear it every now and then, on TV or when you travel, but to hear the accent constantly, sometimes I didn't understand certain things, and then my friends would say different slangs that I never understood, or just different little things. But for the most part, being away from my parents, I've never been away from my parents for so long, and that took a toll on me in the beginning, and it still does. But with time, it gets a little easier. But I would definitely say being away from home, the food and you're gonna hear me mention food a lot because
You love food.
That's fine. We all love food.
because I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie. Every time my daddy calls me on FaceTime, he's like, "You're always eating something." Right. But that was a huge difference for me. But with time you adjust.
Yeah.
You know, you recognize, hey, this is my new circumstances, and you just have to adjust.
And there's a lot of learning process through this too. The experiences that you're facing and that you faced from the beginning to where you are now, all that you were learning. The experiences that you went through, it's a learning process for you. And this is something that you can go back to later on. And just when you tell your story, you have a story to tell. I mean, in fact, you already have a story to tell right now, with this journey that you're in. And just look how far you've come already at in the last couple of years that you've been here.
Right.
You know what? Before I hearing your story and hearing that you turned to lion, it's really fundamental that you got to congratulate yourself at that point.
Right.
You chose to at that point rewrite your story. Story could have been I'm Nia. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at Spanish. I come from Jamaica. I don't know what I'm gonna do in my life. You know what? Whatever happens, you know what? It's God, right? And our source or universe. And I'm just gonna be that person because I'm not good at anything. So that's gonna be a failure. That is the story you're writing. But at some point in your life, it could have been your mom, the psychologist, or just an awakening moment where you said, "Damn it, Nia's a lion. I'm going to do X, Y, Z." And that's where you start to not only rewrite your story, but you decide to co create your life within. And that's a lot of things that someone that's 20 years old, I didn't know that until like a year ago. Okay. So I'm like 36. But to learn it earlier in life and the willingness to say, I can co create my life through my mindset is huge. And you gotta congratulate yourself, pat on the back,
Thank
whatever
you.
it takes to celebrate that. I want to celebrate that with you because you decide to co-create your life, and that's huge because just like uh, what's his name? Not Tom Ford. It's a cologne. What's his name? The Ford dude. Or Dale Carnegie, one of those guys. Okay, he says when you think you can. I think it's probably Roosevelt said it, but when we think you can, you can. We think you can't, you're usually right. So when you can, you can. And we can't, you can. Because either one, you've already thought it, and you decide to write your story. But someone out there that's listening to this podcast will correct me. I hope they do. It doesn't matter because I got the concept.
Yeah, Nia, I mean, as you can see, we can't stress enough of how much, how highly we think of, your progress and just what you've gone through at such a young age. Because even for us adults, we're still going through the process of changing, and there's a lot of things that we didn't realize up until about just a few years ago. And we're so much older than you. I could be your mom. I'm telling you. And I really could. And it's so crazy, and I want to know, besides having your mom pushing you and seeing something in you, but what was it about you that you did it?
Okay, so as Ron said earlier about, rewriting your story,
Hmm.
that was big for me. From I was about, I'd say 14, I started doing nails. I did my friends' nails. I I watch a lot of YouTube. I love doing nails. I'm very passionate about nails and nail design and artistry. And every summer and every Christmas, I just keep working, working, working on it. And eventually, the better I became, the more I recognized I want to do something with this in the future. And I always say I want to create my own nail empire, just like Essie,
Hmm.
a multi-million, billion-dollar
Yeah.
company for nails and everything nails. But, and as I said, I started to discover myself later on in high school. But one thing I knew, that if I wanted to get to that big place, I could not continue the way I was continuing before. And I just knew I had to change. I knew I had to get myself together. And, apart from me knowing that, I think it came naturally with time. And it came naturally as I started to mature and as I got my priorities straight. Because, when you're young, like what Oprah would say, you when you know better, you'll do better. And so as I started to know better, I started to do better.
Mm.
And so it was just constant change, constant change. But what kept me driven was the fact that I knew where I wanted to go, which was amazing places and impacting others and being a successful businesswoman. But the person I was, and I know that yesterday you have to start training your mind from early. I knew I had to get rid of those old ways, those old habits, you know, and move forward in the right direction. And so I'm not perfect at it, but I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, and I think that's most important. And what reassured me that I'm moving in the right direction was, it was the reassurance from my parents. You know, especially my mom. One day she said to me, Nia, you're really starting to find yourself. In high school I was in the tutoring club and all that, and she's like, you sure you want to leave right now? You sure you don't want to go to grade 13 and keep doing you. I was like, mommy, I'm good.
Uh-huh.
you know, I'm good. So Gloria, it's really just about me knowing, identifying who I wanted to become,
Yeah.
but I knew that I had to start working on me to get to that place. So that's what I did.
Well, damn, Nia. I didn't think like that when I was in my 20s. I really
I don't know where I
didn't.
get it from. I really don't know where I get it from. My friends like to say, Nia, you're a grandma. But in high school, a lot of my friends and parents call me auntie, and it's just because I don't know. As I decided, as I got rid of my childish ways and started to really mature, I just became. I don't know how to explain it. A lot of people, would come to me, confide in me, we talk, I give them advice, but that's just naturally who I was. And I was always like that, even though I wasn't as confident, or even, my parents would like to say I talk a lot. Now, when I was a little girl, we're driving off into the country and, different trips to, explore the scenery. They'd have videos. I'd be singing the whole way. I'd be talking the whole way. I'd be pretending to give tour guides. It's something I always love to do. I love people. I love helping others. And so,
Yeah, and you had a lot of determination. You were really determined to reach something. You had dreams, and you were, gosh, determined to reach those goals and that dream. And you talked about your friends telling you sometimes like you're a grandma. Did you feel any different from any of your friends?
yes, yes, I did. Um, sometimes I felt like I was boring,
Hmm.
but I don't think I was boring. I was just different. And I still went out and partied like a young person and all of that, but just the way how I think sometimes, the things I say, it just comes so naturally. I was different than a lot of people. My mind was in a different place. My mind was busy elevating, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and just so everything I said kind of reflected that. I in my family has a lot of, I don't want to use the word old, but let's say older people
Hmm.
than me. And so I hang out with my family a lot. And the older members of my family. And so they provide me with a lot of wisdom and knowledge.
Old soul.
Yeah.
Also,
Old soul.
I
like,
That's the first time you're the first person I've ever said it to. So when people used to call me old soul, I hated
mhm,
it. Like it's like old, so I'm old or I'm young. But I understand it more. But I now I can say it to somebody else. So you're old soul.
She
I'm
is.
also,
Yeah.
yes, all my grandfather, he makes, I live with my grandfather lives with us, and he always says, you must spend time with your family. And he that's his number one priority, is spending time with family. And so I spend a lot of time with the older members of my family, and they provide me with so much wisdom and knowledge and so many things I take away. And so, imagine as a young girl constantly growing up and talking to these older folks in her family. That's why I speak the way I speak. That's why I think the way I think, because I wasn't always around younger people, you know. So I was always kind of ahead in thinking like that, you know. Um, but yes,
Yeah.
that's why I would be classified as an old soul.
Yeah. You talk about elevation, or elevating. And I heard this on Sadhguru. I don't know if you've heard about him. He talked about elevation once, and he mentioned elevation means you see better.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. So an example with that was that if you're stuck down, you have your own issues, right? And then you see it in a certain way. But the moment you go up and then you look down, you have a different view of everything.
Yeah.
So I think that you just kept going up and going up. And each time you look down, you just, maybe there's a part of you that just didn't want to be there.
Yeah. And when you start to become very ambitious, and you
Hmm.
you know where, like I said before, when you know kind of you have an idea of where you want to go, you recognize that you won't get there unless you elevate. You won't get there unless it's up from here. Um, and so I just knew that I had to make a difference.
Yeah.
Change doesn't come from doing the same things all the time. You have to do something different. You have to take action. And so that's really what I did. But in the process of it, I can say this now because I've actually gotten somewhere. But when I was in the middle of it, I felt like I was in the middle of nowhere. I felt like I was just spinning. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I'm going. Even just to choose a major, I didn't even know, you know, what I want to do. And I still don't know what I want to do, even though I'm studying marketing. But I'm just trying to figure it out day by day. And I kind of, I like Steve Jobs' quote where he said, you know, we can't connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect the dots looking backwards. And so we have to trust that one day our dots will align, you know, in accordance with our future. So I'm just trying to trust the dots right now.
Wow. You trust the process.
That's the process.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah. It
It's
is.
it's a study of metaphysics,
Mhm.
and it's really ironic when I hear you say this kind of stuff. I can't help but see myself in you. So I haven't said much because I'm just really actively listening to you and what you're trying to accomplish in your store because it's really huge. I mean, I've trained clients, especially when I lived in California versus Washington, when I did personal training. A lot of my clients were not from America. Most of them from India or China or somewhere Mongolia. I even had one guy from Mongolia. And it's the confidence. I told one client, he was from China, and he says, man, I don't know if I can be a leader. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know how I'm going to accomplish anything. I says, oh, hold on. Let me ask you a question. I said, you came from China. He says, yes. And what school did you go to? He says, USC, University of California. Then I asked him, I says, so wait a minute here. So you were able to lead yourself to come to a country you've never been to before, speak a language that's not your first language. Aren't you a leader because you're able to lead yourself? He's like, oh my goodness. I never thought of it that way.
Mhm.
Because most people think I have to be a manager or have managerial experience to be a leader. No, you're leading your life already because look how much you've accomplished. You had to take an audacious test to even be able to come to USC. Not that because he couldn't afford to pay for it, he had to do an internship tutoring other students that are from America.
Wow.
You are a leader, dude. Get with the program.
Yeah.
But that's where when you talk about connecting dots, it's really creating your affirmations, which is all experiences have value, which is kind of one of mine, and trust the process. Things are happening perfectly the way they should be happening,
Mm-hmm.
and it's huge.
I agree.
So when you talk about your program Elevate, why did you use the word elevate? Like what's the purpose behind that one?
It's funny that you asked that because I don't, I would say that it fell into my mind. I don't know what it was. It was during I'm saying during Corona time as if Corona isn't still around. Last year, I was at my grandma's house. I was laying in the bed, and I've always thought about doing something like this, but then now I was trying to make it happen, and I was just thinking, what would I call it? What would I call it? What would I call? And then just the name Elevate with Nia came in my mind. And at first I didn't want to use it. I was like, I need to find something else. That just sounds so cliche. But then I was like, no, 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 elevate. And I want to help others elevate in any way possible. And so that's why I bring different topics, whether it's personal journey, whether it's educational topics about, how to master interviews, any different things. Because we all need to elevate, we all need to step up each different step to get to that big goal. And so that's pretty much why I decided to call it Elevate with Me. We're elevating from whatever position we are. Because as long as we're breathing, we have room to elevate.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. And it could be based on your own experience because you did mention earlier that you elevate.
Yes.
So it might have, yeah, that maybe it came from within and you just, it's there somewhere. It's coming from you, obviously. And it is, what you're experiencing and you wanted to share that. And just so, just to let you know, Nia, you are already making an impact. You're already making a difference. You really
Thank
are. It is, the work that you're doing and just there's so much feelings and passion on this. I mean, you got me. You got me on this, and even Ron, because we're so impressed by this. And yeah,
you.
just you are already making an impact and making a difference. And I actually wanted to go back to one of Ron's question. I know that he did ask you about how you viewed yourself and how do you view yourself in the future. I think I wanted to hear that also.
Um, I was saying that, now I'm a lion. And now I'm just going after each goal day by day, and I'm just conquering. And as I said earlier, when I added the Elevate with Me segment about the discussion segment, I've never done an interview before, but I'm living by the mantra of kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyways. And I'm setting different goals for myself. I'm not limiting myself anymore. I'm just going out there trying different things. I'm doing it. I'm 20, so if I fail, I'm gonna try again, but I'm gonna use a different plan, and then I'm just gonna just keep going, keep going. Everyone says your 20s is the best time to try, and if you fail, you just try again, try again, try again. And I'm gonna say this because I believe, and even with getting my resident assistant job on campus, it nothing that I've achieved in life was linear. Nothing was linear, nothing was straight road, nothing. So, I had to. It took me 2 years to get that position, and it ultimately is only supposed to take one. But sometimes it's not that the destination is not for us. It is just that the route that we had originally planned to go by, it may just have to use a different route. But sometimes I would like dismiss the destination and be like, okay, well, all the signs of the world is showing that I'm not supposed to be at this specific destination, but that's false. Sometimes all it takes for us is to reassess and look at the route, and maybe we need a different route. Now, this is something that pilots do all the time when they have bad weather, or if there is traffic in the sky or something. They're gonna get to that destination, but they just have to take a different route. And so that's something that I identified um, in my life. And so I'm just kind of moving forward in that way where, I'm trying not to dismiss the destination, but I'm, creating alternative routes and going after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's no limit.
No limit. No limit
Amazing.
at all.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to. So you said something earlier. So you see, so right now you're basically you're not confined by any. How can I say this? Society's thought process, right? Society says you got to do X, Y, Z to get to the end, and it's not really how it's designed, right? Like I said, nothing in life's been linear.
Hmm.
Um, what I did hear earlier is that one day you woke up, you heard the word elevate. And could I share something with you if you don't mind? Something that
No,
may be help, maybe because you said, "Oh, elevates came to me, it doesn't make sense." So the body has two different minds. The first one is a conscious mind, and the second one is a subconscious mind. The conscious mind is, let's say, aware of logic. It's aware that, okay, I'm going to take out my smartphone, I'm a GPS to get to a destination, right? So it knows that it's aware of its surroundings. The subconscious mind doesn't have that awareness. It doesn't know nothing about good, bad, right, or wrong. It just knows. So the conscious mind is really controlled by a subconscious mind because it doesn't have that variable of right, wrong, good, or bad. So when you were in a state of happiness, in a state of creativity, in a state of happiness, being at your grandmother's house, which you probably love your grandmother,
Yes.
it's funny how the word elevate just happened. It was already in your subconscious mind.
Mhm.
It took the layer of the conscious mind to peel back so the conscious mind can boom pop up and say, okay, elevate, that's it. And when you had the word elevate, it's really ironic. Everything started to line. You felt good. It made sense. You're in alignment with what you want to say. Then now that transfers into everything you do around you, not just you, because first elevate has to start with Nia, but it also helps to recognize that the people you're interacting with are elevating you. The people you're
Mhm.
interviewing are elevating you. The people you're interacting with on campus are elevating you. All the knowledge and books that you need to get to that destination is coming into your lap all of a sudden because you're in touch with that higher subconscious, or we call it in coaching, the higher coach of yourself. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, like everything just started happening for you.
Yeah, let's say that when you start to think about something, the more you see it, like they say, I love Range Rovers. And so when I start to think about Range Rovers more and research it, I start to see it more on the road. And I think that they say it has something to do with does it it does it have to do with something about it, that what I say, like you're talking about it more, so you're like looking out for it more, like unknowingly or something like that.
Yeah, for example, Range Rovers have existed, right? Okay, I'll give you a
Hmm.
bad example. You go to a grocery store, right? You drive, you walk. And the first time you get there, you probably are kind of navigating how to get there. Where's it at? Okay, then you take a right turn, left turn. If you go there past maybe 2 or 3 times, you just know how to get there without even thinking about it.
Right.
So subconsciously, Range Rovers have already existed, but because you're actively looking at them or actively want this, now it's showing up more and more in your life, which is your subconscious mind.
Right.
Because now you upload the software, be it I love Rain Road
Range
Rovers. Oh
Rover.
my God, what's going on? Range Rovers, and I like them red, let's say. Now you told my subconscious mind has been told that. So now I realize, oh, okay. Now we're gonna make sure her conscious mind
See
is
it more.
aware of that now. That's the difference.
Right. And so with that example, I think that that is reflected in all that I do with Elevate with Nia. Because at first, when you have this grand idea and you're trying to put things together, nothing really makes sense in the beginning. And you're trying to think about, I was trying to think about how am I going to get different people to participate? The hows, the why, the ifs, the buts, the maybes. And then once I started, everything just started to fall in place. I started to find more people. I also thank God for Clubhouse. Clubhouse made things so much easier. I mean, that's how Gloria and I met. I was moderating a room and Gloria came, and just all these different things. Like everything started to fall in place. The people started to show up, and man, I've really been blessed. I've really been blessed. The support has been unwavering, and man, I'm just so excited to see what else will come for Elevate with Nia.
It will.
It will. And, Nia, there's many ways and there's a lot of ways how, to do life. Sometimes you always try to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to do this life? There's so many ways, but the most important thing is how you are within yourself. And I find
Hmm.
that in you, and that, you know, once you know how to be, what to do and how to do it will come naturally to you. And I think it's happening to you.
Yes.
Hmm. It certainly is.
Hmm.
It certainly is. So for that, how can our audiences find you if they want to be interviewed on your podcast or YouTube? Oh, by the way, I was going to say this. If you ever need more content, I will volunteer myself to be interviewed on your podcast or your YouTube channel just to help a person up and coming, because the more content they have, the more they become relevant, the more the algorithm pick up on it, and so forth and so on. So if you ever need an interview, I volunteer myself. But how can our guests find you if they want to follow you in your story?
Well, if they would like to follow me, you can just go over on Instagram or YouTube. The name is Elevate with Nia. And then you can watch all the different videos on YouTube, or you can watch some of the videos on Instagram. Originally, I started on Instagram TV, so there's a couple of videos from season one on Instagram TV, but for season two, it's fully on YouTube. I recently launched 2 episodes, so if there are any university students listening, and if you are interested in being an international student, there's a very interesting video called, University life experience with sorry, international students. So there are actually some other students who are from Jamaica who are here, who are my residents, and I pull them together to do a video to talk about their experience, leaving home. A lot of their friends are doing school virtually, but they decided to come to campus and for that in-person experience. And let me tell you, when I myself decided to come to school in person, a lot of people thought that was crazy. Um,
Yeah,
so,
I bet. Yeah.
yeah, if you're interested, you can go ahead and watch that. And something I want to tell, any student listening, I know it's not always easy, and sometimes even when you're trying and it's not being reflected, it can feel like the world is on your shoulder because you feel like you're doing everything and it's just not working out. Just take the time, pause, assess, and see, where can you get help. We're not we all need, help in this life to get to where we're going. We can't do it alone. They always say no man is an island, and so just take the time out. Sometimes you need to take a break. No, don't quit. Just take a break. And you're having a healthy mind is so important in keeping you pushing. And don't give up on yourself. And also don't rely on anyone to believe in you. It's good when people believe in you, but it's most important when you believe in yourself and all that you can conquer. And don't limit yourself at all.
Oh my
I
God!
love
And
that.
you beat me to the punch. So I always, if you listen to one of my podcasts, always at the end, I always ask our guest what is one thing they would like to tell the audience, right? Because that is part of the why story, why we do this. And you just beat me to the punch by giving exactly the takeaway you want to tell everybody else out there in the world. So what you're doing, you're setting in motion positive vibrations to the universe by saying that, because people think there's a magical pill out there. And if there was, I'm quite sure people would be trillionaires, but there's not. The magical pill is within, the creativity is within, the happiness is within, the desire is within. So you just said exactly what people need to hear out there is that all experiences have value and that you are able and can conquer anything you want within. Even though it may not make sense now, trust me, it may not make sense, but you'll be able to conquer it in time. Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. Give you a hand of applause on that.
Yeah, congratulations, Nia. Very, very proud of you. I am a big fan of you, and
Oh,
I'm very impressed. And I really like what you're doing. And I know that, and Ron knows that we see a very big potential. And this is just the beginning for you. And I know that you will make a huge difference in the world and the youth. You're just starting. This is just a start for you. So I wish you luck. And again, congratulations on everything that you've accomplished in your life so far at such a young age. Um, Good luck with school and in everything that you do there and in the future. So before we let you go, I just want to hear something from you. I wasn't going to let you off. I was waiting for this moment too. If you can say something in Jamaican to our audience, I would love, and I'm sure our audience would love to hear.
do you know what I find this funny? Because it's not the first I've heard this, and
I'm sure it's not.
on campus, people like to mock my language, like try to talk like me. And it's so funny. But when you say that, do you have anything specific?
um, I don't know, Ron. Do you?
I don't.
Okay, I could say something really simple, and that is like big up yourself, which means, oh my gosh, how do I explain this? Big up yourself, meaning, like take care, you know. But just before I leave, what I want to add, and it just came to my mind, is finding balance. Finding balance.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Elevate with Mia, and you recently mentioned, Gloria, about, school. You said good luck with school.
Mm-hmm.
Man, finding balance is so important.
Yes, it is.
Whether in, it's with your schoolwork, whatever, personal initiative you're starting, and also with your social life. You have to have some balance. Can't just do too much of one thing.
You do
So
that.
finding
Yeah.
balance. So I'll say that in Jamaica is make sure you find balance.
Okay, there you go. Say that in Jamaica. I would love to hear that.
Yeah, make sure you find balance.
How do you say that in Jamaican?
That is Jamaican.
Really?
Yes, they don't speak different language.
Remember,
English.
Jamaica. When people say in Jamaica, it's what we speak is called. Sometimes it's a dialect. It's called patois. It's not.
Where?
It's still
Do you speak a different dialect or?
right. So it's called patois. It's spelled patois, Patois, but it's pronounced patois. So Jamaicans still speak English, but because we speak a dialect called patois, which is just it's English, but it's a little bit different. And so a lot of the things, so that's why so many people are able to understand and try to quote unquote speak Jamaican, because it's not very far off from English.
Got it.
So that's why I said make sure your balance, you know, just means make sure you balance.
Okay.
And it's you can make it up because it's so close to English.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Someone asked me one time, how did I learn English so fast? I'm like, what? That's the only language I.
No.
That's what I grew up speaking.
Yeah.
But it's because a lot of people speak full on patois,
Mm-hmm.
and so when you meet a Jamaican who speaks proper English, it's like, oh, you sound a little bit different. So I've gotten that here. They're so used to, if when people are portraying Jamaicans, they hear the patois. But no, no, no. It's just a dialect.
This
Oh,
is that. I
okay.
love
Got
that.
it. I just
Okay,
learned something new today. Yeah.
something brand new, right?
Yes. Thank you. So find your balance.
Not another language.
Yeah. Thank you. Find your balance and time management, right?
Yeah, that's important for students.
Oh,
Even if
heck
it's
yeah, it
not.
is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'm going to say thanks again, Nia. It's been a pleasure hearing your story. We'd definitely like to have you again one day to see your progression forward on Life Shuffle podcast. And for our audience members, if you want to hear Nia's story, it'll be ready in a couple of days. You can download it, listen to it around the world. Also, I'll publish it on YouTube and also Instagram. But if you want to follow our story on a continuous basis and guests, go to Facebook at lifesashuffle.com. Click the follow button on the group. And at the same time, make a comment, ask a question. You could be interviewed as a not host, as a guest here, and we can hear your story. Or I can say a comment online, answer it with a guest, because obviously every comment has value, and we're here to present value. So thanks for listening. This is Ronald Johnson, your mindfulness coach, and it was a pleasure, Nia, having you here again.
Yes.
Thank you again, Gloria and Ron, for having me.
Thank you, Nia, again for coming on and sharing your story to our audience. And again, this is Gloria. Thank you for listening to another episode of Life's a Shuffle.